Hello, my bookish friends. I am so excited to be back with another video. Welcome to my channel if you've never been here before, or welcome back if you have. If you've clicked on this video, you know what we're going to talk about today. We are going to talk about all the series that I finished so far this year and whether or not they are worth your time. I, at my core, am a series girl. I also love a series full of good, interconnected standalones. The two genres I've had so far this year are fantasy or magical realism and romance. A little bit of a change of scenery today. I feel like I find myself filming a lot more after my kids go down to sleep, and my library is just not good lighting at that point. So it's just easier for me to film in my dining room or in my living room where all of the windows are. Without further ado, let's get into the series that I have finished so far in 2025. If my numbers are correct, I have finished a total of 8 series so far this year. 5 of them are fantasy or magical realism, and the other 3 are interconnected standalone series in the genre of romance. I figured it'd be fun to start with romance just because it's shorter, and I feel like that's the more unexpected choice as far as covering series that I've finished. The first series I want to talk about is by my all-time favorite contemporary romance author to date. It is by Abby Jimenez, and I finished the Part of Your World trilogy of interconnected standalones. I do own a copy of Just for the Summer, but it is eluding me. I cannot figure out where I put that for the life of me, and I don't own Part of Your World quite yet. It's a book that I really want to thrift or get secondhand because it wasn't my favorite in the series, but I still do really want to own it. First of all, let's just talk about how when I started this trilogy, I did not realize that it was more than one book. So I picked up Yours Truly at Target about 2 years ago when I was getting back into reading, and I absolutely fell in love with this book. I loved Dr. Jacob. He is an Abby Jimenez MMC that I will never forget. I loved the representation of anxiety that in this book, the male main character had anxiety. I just loved their little notes that they wrote each other because of Jacob's social anxiety. I loved their little cry closet they had at work. It was just a really incredible book with a lot of heart. And after I read Yours Truly, it wasn't until about a year later when Just for the Summer came out that I read Just for the Summer and realized that they were interconnected standalones. Now, Just for the Summer is by far my favorite contemporary romance book ever, and that is obviously saying something. That book just touched my soul. It's the quotes in there, just the storyline I thought was so beautiful, and to this date I have not read something like that. I just absolutely loved it. It is something that I recommend to anybody and everybody, and not just during the summertime. It is super beautiful, and I've yet to meet a person who hasn't said that that's a 5-star read for them. After Just for the Summer and realizing that Part of Your World needed to be read first, it was supposed to be read first, I did go into Part of Your World, and I did enjoy it. However, I will tell you that it was my least favorite of the series, but looking back, it was a series that just got better and better, and so I can definitely see the progression and growth in there. Despite the fact that Part of Your World wasn't my favorite book, I think I still ended up giving it like a 3.75 or 4 stars. It's a book that I really enjoyed. It just doesn't hold a candle, in my opinion, to the second and third in this series, but I absolutely love this series, and this is one of those series that I would genuinely tell you that if you do not read this series, you are missing out. If you think you don't like contemporary romance, you haven't read this series yet. These books are also great for getting you out of a slump. This is just, again, at the top of my list for recommendations as far as contemporary romance goes. Moving along, the next series that I finished in the contemporary romance genre is actually a sports romance series. It is all the rage all over social media right now, and that is the Windy City series. I read the first 2 books probably over a year ago. Before I had heard about the hype on TikTok, I've always been an avid Kindle Unlimited girl, and so I really enjoyed them. My mic died, but the show must go on. We'll see if it makes an appearance in this video again. However, as I was saying, the Windy City series, you can find it on Kindle Unlimited. It is a group of interconnected sports romances. I think at least 2 of them are hockey romances. This is a series that's just really easy to read. I feel like they make really good palate cleansers. They're books that I think I each read almost in like a day. They're just very quick. They don't require a ton of energy to read them. They're just a good time. That's another series that I do feel like did get better as it went along. I think for me, my 2 favorites were Play Along and Rewind It Back. I really enjoyed both of those. The one thing I will say about this series, and maybe I need to give a little bit of a background into the kinds of books that I like to read generally. I am not a huge fan of overly spicy books because I just feel like generally a lot of times you kill the plot and you kill kill the slow burn when you're forcing spice down the reader's throat. It's just a personal opinion. It doesn't mean that I don't think the books were well written or anything like that. So for this one, I know they're not the spiciest books ever, but for me, I did feel like some of them in particular, the spice was introduced early. I feel like when the characters get involved physically so quickly, I feel like sometimes for me, it's just losing a chance for an extra bit of slow burn, an extra bit of yearning. So that for me is just a personal thing, a small gripe that I think I had about this series. Overall, I did really enjoy it. And again, I think these make really, really good palate cleansers, or if you just want to like turn your brain off after reading a really complicated fantasy or a complicated story or a heavy story, I think these are really, really good to go into. The next romance series that I wanted to talk about is a duology. These are both interconnected standalones as well. And this is published by an indie author that's actually local to North Carolina, which is where I live, if you didn't know that. This is the Life on the Ledge duet, starting with Forever and Back, and then we have Now to Forever, which just released. The author's name is Ashley Manley, and I loved this duet. I think I really connected with it because the first book in this series is about a mom who has lost herself in motherhood, feels like she doesn't know who she is anymore, and she just goes on this journey of self-discovery. It's not perfect, she doesn't go about it in a perfect way, but I feel like the feelings that are expressed, particularly on the motherhood standpoint, are so relatable. I don't know a single mom who hasn't faced a moment in their motherhood journey of being like, who the heck am I anymore? Like, I don't recognize myself. I'm so different than who I was before. And the way that Ashley Manley puts all of those thoughts into words is just incredible. This is also where I discovered a love for one of my favorite tropes, and it's romance books about married couples, about seasoned relationships, because a lot of books are about when people first meet, and it's before they really spend a lot of time with each other. I feel like books that are with couples who are very seasoned in their relationship have these little nuances that I really appreciate as someone who has been in a relationship for a long time. I've been married for almost 8 years, or maybe it has been 8 years now. Let's see.
2017, it's 2025. No, almost 8 years.
I just feel like I felt so connected to the story, even though this couple's marriage was in danger and mine is not. I could see how they got there, because being married and being with someone for a long time, you really realize that you have to keep putting that effort into your relationship, or things can get really tough and you can end up really growing apart. So I loved this book because of that, and so many other reasons. I've talked about it a lot. I also loved the MMC in this book. He's just amazing. Continued in Now to Forever, and as you can tell by the tab, I really loved this book. It was very different than the first book because our female protagonists were just so different from each other, but the common thing I feel like was with the male protagonists, which they were both so incredibly supportive of the female protagonists, and they were very patient with them as they were going through very different issues in each book. I've said it once, I've said it a million times. This duet is not talked about enough. It is really good. Moving on to the fantasy series I have finished this year. I want to start with the ones I don't have copies of yet. I think one of the first series that I finished this year is probably one of my favorite series that I finished this year, and that is the Shepherd King series by Rachel Gillig. If you've been on my channel, I've definitely mentioned it before just because I think that this series is so incredible. It has such a unique magic system. It's a gothic fantasy. This series is one that I would absolutely recommend to anybody who likes fantasy or even wants to get into fantasy, because I feel like us fantasy readers can get pretty jaded. Sometimes we feel like we've seen everything, and this one was so unique. The magic system revolves around these tarot cards, and the holders of these specific tarot cards, when they are holding them or when they tap on them, they are able to use the ability that the specific tarot card gives them. There's also a sickness upon the land that the people who get it generally get these really crazy magical powers, and then they end up getting really sick and dying. So our female protagonist has been sick and who does have abilities but hasn't started wasting away yet. We also have our male protagonist who is trying to unite the deck of tarot cards, because it is said that that sickness will lift once that deck is united. It's an enemies to lovers, and they end up working together to be able to unite this deck for her to save herself, but also the male protagonist protagonist has someone very close to him that he is wanting to cure as well. It is so good, and the twist at the end of the first book, I could not believe. It was insane. It also made me worried for the second book because I was like, oh my goodness, like where are we gonna go from here? But the second book, I loved it so much. It did not have second book syndrome. It lived up to the hype, and it was everything that I wanted and more. It cemented Rachel Gillick as an auto-buy author for me. Another duology that I finished this year, I read Divine Rivals last year, and I ended up listening to Ruthless Vows earlier this year. I really loved Divine Rivals. In Divine Rivals, we are following our protagonists who are able to communicate between magically linked typewriters. They're both rival journalists, and we have our female main character, Iris. She is really missing her brother who is away fighting in the war, which is a war of the gods. Because this book is magical realism, I don't know if I said that, but it's based off of either World War I or World War II, with some magical realism in it, obviously. But she misses her brother, and so she writes him letters and she shoves them underneath the door jamb of her closet, but she starts getting letters back. And it turns out that her typewriter is magically linked to her rival at the newspaper she works at, which is Mr. Roman Kit. I love Roman Kit. I love their love story. He is so sweet and he is so down bad for her. And what I really like is this is a very wholesome love story full of yearning. There's not really spice in this, but you're still satisfied because of the amount of yearning and the slow burn that this is, and the lengths that Roman Kit went to for Iris, specifically at the end of this book. Woo, you just gotta read it. I did like the first book in the series better than the second book in this series, but I still enjoyed it, and overall I do feel like it was worth the read. Then I read, oh shit, I forgot I said I was gonna do the ones that I don't have first. I also read the Crimson Moth series, which is the Rebel Witch and Heartless Hunter, at least in the US. This is an enemies to lovers with a witch and a witch hunter, and this witch is basically hiding in plain sight among society because it is against the law to be a witch, and these witches are put to death by these witch hunters because the person who is in power demands it. And our male protagonist is basically the captain of the witch hunters. He's a soldier, and he's just very good at what he does. Our female protagonist is kind of undercover in society, and she wants to get close to him so that she can get information on how to protect witches, because by night she is a vigilante known as the Crimson Moth, and she saves witches from these witch hunters and helps them escape. Our male protagonist also suspects our female protagonist, and so he is also getting closer to her to try to figure out if she is the Crimson Moth. This series was so addicting. I think I binged this series in just a few days, and no regrets. I think it is so good. I think it's so fun. This is definitely one that I would recommend to beginners of fantasy because it was not intimidating, and it was just overall a really fun read. Next, I finished the Six of Crows duology. This was a duology year for me, I feel like, so far. This is a series that I have been told so many good things about. Two of my closest friends are absolutely obsessed with the series, and they kept telling me, Nellie, if you're a reader, you need to read this, you need to read this. Well, finally I read it, and they were so right. This will go down as one of my favorite duologies of all time. I think right up there with the Shepherd King series. I don't know if I could pick one over the other. If I had to, maybe this one would be a hair ahead. I don't know. I just love them so much. I can't even say that honestly. What I love about this series is that we're following multiple characters, specifically our 6 main characters throughout the course of these 2 books. The plot in this is insane. It is so complex and yet so easy to understand. The character development, it's wild to me how well the author was able to flesh out all of these characters. I didn't feel like a single one was underdeveloped, despite the fact that we have 6 different people with 6 completely different lives. 6 different countries, 6 different backstories. If they have magic, that's different magic. It was just so good. The best way that I can describe this is like if Peaky Blinders had a magic system. During the course of both of these books, they are pulling off a heist, whether that's to get a person or a thing. They have to work together to pull off a heist, and I just loved each one of these characters. We have Kaz, who is the leader, who never shares his plans, but always seems to be one step ahead. We have Inej, who is the silent spy who's able to collect secrets. Then we have Jesper, who is like the gunslinger. He never misses a shot. We have Waylon, who is the bomb expert. We've got Nina, who is a heart render. She has a magical ability over your physical body. Like she can make your heart stop, your breath catch, all of that. And then we have Matthias. Essentially, if I related Nina to a witch, Matthias would be a witch hunter. He was raised in a very strict society where people who have magic are essentially like devils and are an abominations. Anyways, this is another series that doesn't have spice. And I always hate saying that because I feel like it turns people off. But the yearning, the slow burn, and the quality of the relationships in these are just freaking incredible. This is just like a 6-star series for me. And last but not least, I'm slowly collecting this series. We have the Throne of Glass series. I borrowed them from friends as I was reading them just to make sure that I really like them, because this is actually a series that I've attempted to start twice before and I just really got stuck. The second book each time sent me into a book slump for some reason. I know maybe that's not true with a lot of people. However, this has been a bucket list series for me, so I knew eventually that I would push through. I finally did this year and I am so glad that I did. This is now one of my favorite fantasy series, if not my favorite fantasy series of all time. The character growth in this is insane. The stories, the world is so well fleshed out. This series is following a 16-year-old assassin named Selena Sardothian. At the beginning of this series, she is working in a mine that she was sentenced to, a prison where a lot of slaves are. The Crown Prince of Otterlin comes because his dad is hosting a contest to find what he calls his champion, and the Crown Prince has come for Selena so that she can compete to become the king's champion, and if she does, then she will have her freedom. That is such a small plot because this is a plot within a plot within a plot within a plot. It is so incredibly woven and crafted. Selena was kind of the worst for me. Like, she's a very unlikable character, but as you learn her backstory, you realize why she is the way that she is, and you learn things that really endear her to you. But also she undergoes a lot of character development that makes her end up being one of your favorite characters of all time. One thing that Sarah J. Maas did really, really well in this as well is introducing a lot of side characters that you fall in love with. You are so committed to their story. Before I read this series, I thought that I did not like series that had different stories going on in different parts of their fantasy world. This series totally proved me wrong. I absolutely loved that aspect of this series. Can't say enough about it other than this is the most empowering series I think that I've ever read. These stories in here, the different conflicts that people are facing are very relevant to today's world, to issues that a lot of people face, and they're just characters that I'll think about for a really, really, really long time. Well, my friends, that does bring us to the end of this video. That is the 8 series that I have finished so far in 2025. I am hoping to finish a few more before the end of this year starts, and also hoping to start quite a few more. I also think it would be so fun to start doing some reading vlogs where I continue the series that I am in the middle of. If you would be interested in that or enjoy watching those videos like I do, please let me know in the comments below. If you have any specific questions on any of these series or any opinions, I would love to hear them in my comments below. And as always, if you like this video, please feel free to subscribe. I would love to have you here. But that wraps things up, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!